Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. So listen, guys, we are going to be talking about tyrannical Britain. And honestly, guys, you are not ready for what is about to drop. Just before we get into this live stream, though, I want you to keep something in the back of your mind. I'm not going to touch on it. I may touch on it, but I just want to you guys keep this in the back of your mind before we get on this live stream, okay? Can you guys remember, was it like in the summer or in the spring? Keir Starmer gave a speech and he said, "Yes, we're into phase 2 now," or he said phase 1's complete or something. Can you guys remember that? I think we just went into the next phase in the United Kingdom, guys. So we're talking about tyrannical Britain, and you are not ready for what's coming. So let me just start with I'm going to give you guys a quick monologue, and then we're going to come on to what's been happening. Some wild things have been happening, a lot of things that people have totally missed. But I want to talk about something that's been simmering for years, and now it's boiling over. Here in the United Kingdom, I want to first start by talking about the two-tier justice system that we've got, and how, if anybody can't see this now, that we are heading into an absolute tyrannical state. And look, guys, I have been out harping on about this for like the best part of a year, whereby here in the United Kingdom, we have this two-tier justice system and we have no means of legally defending ourselves against a tyrannical state. Well, you know, when the state slips more and more towards tyranny, it's going to be harder and harder to get that, which is making a bloody war. And I don't mean like bloody is in the sense of like a cuss word. I mean the red stuff that leaks out of your body when you have taken an injury. So let's talk about this for a second. I want to talk about something called an anarcho-tyranny. I think I'm pronouncing that right. And I just want to mention this a little bit because I don't think people quite understand what this concept is. So the concept of anarcho-tyranny is a term was coined by an American writer in the 90s, and it describes paradoxical state of governance where the authorities, they exhibit like a dual failure. They are ineffective or permissive towards widespread crime, disorder, threats to public safety, allowing anarchy to flourish among certain groups, certain regions, certain demographics, while simultaneously wielding draconian tyrannical laws against law-abiding citizens. Surveillance states, harsh law enforcement of minor infractions. In essence, it's a system. In essence, it's a system that protects the vulnerable from accountability, but crushes the complaints under bureaucracy or ideological control. So basically what it means is you come down hard on law-abiding citizens, but you let the criminals get away with literal, like, whatever they want to get away with. Now, if anybody thinks that sounds familiar, it really is what's I feel anyway, that's what's happening in the United Kingdom. Now, you guys can search that up. That was that's a term coined by an American writer, Samuel Francis. It's called anarcho-tyranny. The concept, it's gained a lot of traction online, obviously, on platforms like X, and I guess like most social media platforms, where it's invoked to critique the perceived imbalances of law enforcement in the United Kingdom. For example, users, people have said the UK's handling of public unrest is an anarchy for the invaders and a tyranny for law-abiding citizens, I guess. Trying and directly to accuse it of the two, and this is what brings you onto the two-tier justice system. So the two-tier justice system, in essence, is, anarcho-tyranny. Right, let me get onto this, guys. So I just wanted to let everybody understand that is an actual thing. Anarcho-tyranny is an actual thing where you come down heavy, where you come down heavy on law-abiding citizens, and then people that do not, people who don't do anything wrong, your Lucy Conleys, your Pete Lynchers, if you shout at a dog, you come down very hard on them. You come down very hard on them. So let's just start with this, guys. I'm going to give a little monologue and then I'll come on to some of the things that's happening. And let's not forget that David Lammy has just abolished trial by jury for most crimes. I think only the most serious crimes now get a trial by jury in the United Kingdom. Other people that have done that are people like Hitler, Stalin, Mao. I'm not actually sure Stalin did it. There's a lot of dictators, like literally, guys, it's something that dictators do. Dictators will quit trial by jury because they want one of their dodgy judges in there. So first, guys, the phrase that you're hearing everywhere, and I am going to come on to this, guys, is anarcho-tyranny. It was coined by an American writer back in the 90s. It's brutally simple. We've just spoke about that. And it does sound very familiar if you live here in the United Kingdom. It's anarchy for the criminals. They get to do whatever they want. And tyranny for the law-abiding citizens, because literally law-abiding citizens are getting arrested every 2 minutes for nothing. We literally, you've got a state in the United Kingdom right now where we've got people with masks chanting through the street, shouting Allahu Akbar and, shouting river to the sea, and that they're fine. You've got farmers who don't want to stop producing food to feed everyone, and they're getting arrested. It's very difficult, guys. It's very difficult for me not to identify this. So that's exactly what people mean when they say Britain now has a two-tier justice system. So if it's two-tier justice system and anarcho-tyranny, then it's the same thing. So tier one would be the protected class. And guys, listen, this is just my own opinion. This is why I'm just thinking this, okay? This would be my own opinion. Certain kinds of protesters, certain kind of offenders, certain kind of offences, they just seem to float above the law, don't they? They do. Tell me I'm wrong, guys. Tell me I'm wrong that certain sorts of crimes, like Ricky Jones saying, we're going to cut their throats and get rid of them. That's totally fine. That's totally fine. But if you put if you put a post on Facebook or X, you're in jail for a long time. So again, guys, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm not seeing this. I'm open to objective criticism. But some, they seem to float above the law. And then you've got tier two, which is everyone else. I'm going to say it, predominantly if you're white working class and you put something angry on Facebook after, I don't know, kids get stabbed to death at a dance class, one group gets community resolutions and the other group gets the book thrown at them. It doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. And we saw it last summer. Was it last summer? Yeah, last summer, sorry. We saw it last summer. Southport happened, riots within 48 hours. The police are doing drive-by arrests, kicking doors in at 4 a.m. because someone retweeted something spicy. Meanwhile, other protests, week after week, waving Palestinian flags, chanting that they would make your blood run cold. If you understood some of these chants, they would make your blood run cold, guys. And the police are filming TikToks and handing out bottles of water. Tell me where that's not a two-tier system, guys. Tell me where that's not a two-tier system. Tell me how that's not Tell me how it's not a two-tier system. Tell me how it's not anarchy and tyranny at the same time. Anarchy for the people who don't want to abide by the laws, and tyranny for the people who do want to abide by the laws. I saw it myself. Can you guys remember the other day? Was it yesterday? I was in Sheffield and I was on the live stream in Sheffield, and I think she was a Somalian woman. A Somalian woman went up to an armed police officer and said, "Oh, can you take a picture of me, please?" And she was quite a nice lady. But the police officer's like, "Yeah, I'll put my weapon. I'll put my weapon to one side, and I'll be a photographer for you." As a taxpayer, I don't think, I'm just putting it out there, guys. What do you think? As a taxpayer, I don't think that the armed police officers should double up as photographers, I'm just going to leave it there. I don't think armed police officers should double up as photographers. I don't think that should be a thing. You know, and then this year we saw the, we saw the Sentencing Council try to make it official. New guidelines said that judges should go easier on offenders from certain ethnic backgrounds because of a systemic disadvantage. They were literally going to write two-tier justice into law. And I do think that's coming. I do think that's coming, guys, okay? Thankfully, there was a backlash and it was so ferocious they had to shelve it for now. Tell me I'm wrong, guys. Please, tell me anything I'm saying is wrong. I genuinely, right now, I'm at a state where I can see this now in front of us. It's all there. It's panned out. It's not hidden. It's not some, it's not being swept under some rug in some back room. We can see this. Tell me I'm wrong, guys. Tell me that the British government didn't try and give more lenient sentences to men of diverse culture. Tell me that didn't happen, Now, here's where it gets really scary, guys, okay? Here's where it gets really scary. This month, the Justice Secretary, good old David Lammy, has floated his plans to scrap trial by jury for most crimes in England and Wales. The most serious ones, I think it's murder, rape, manslaughter, that they're going to stay for now. They're going to stay for now. But, everything else, burglary, assault, fraud, public order, GBH, these are going to have, there's going to be no jury. There's just going to be a single judge. Now, again, guys, let's run back. Let's run back to what we said at the beginning of this live stream. It does look like the government are in the new phase now. These phases of socialist takeover, you can see them. Can you not see what's happening, guys? Let's think about the Manchester 2. So think about it now, ladies and gentlemen. The Manchester 2? The Manchester 2 who had fisticuffs with the police officers, allegedly? Under this new scheme, they are not going to get tried by a jury. They're going to have one single judge. What do we think, guys? Do we think they're ever going to see time in jail? I don't. Now, they say this is because of a court backlog, and, that fair enough, right? There is a massive backlog. I don't know how to deal with this. I don't know what the solutions are. The national backlog is a national scandal, and it's all, as far as I'm concerned, it's down to walkie lefty lawyers wanting to earn a few quid from, criminal aid or whatever you get. But the answer, I don't think, is to throw away 800 years of the rule of law in exchange for a quicker spreadsheet and a quicker turnaround. I don't. Trial by jury isn't just some trial by jury is, I can't remember what it says in the Magna Carta. It says something like, he shall be judged by a jury of innocent men, or so. I can't remember what he says, but it is written in the Magna Carta that you shouldn't be found guilty for any crime unless you've been tried by a jury. So David Lammy, he's rewriting that. Listen, if we're going to get it rewritten by anyone, at least it's being rewritten by someone with high intellect. Trial by jury isn't, isn't some quaint tradition. It's the ultimate firewall between citizens and the state. 12 ordinary people have to look at you in the eye and say, yes, he did it. No, she didn't. When you remove that, you literally hand the keys to the legal system to the government, to the government. And let's be honest, that government increasingly doesn't seem like it can be trusted. Now, I don't know what you guys think, but I don't think that government can be trusted, So imagine you get nicked now. Imagine you get arrested for a tweet. I'm not making this up, guys. What I'm saying now is real, all right? Imagine you get arrested for a tweet right now, or an X post, or whatever, social media post. Just imagine that, because you know what? We all do social media posts, and maybe it's been misinterpreted. Maybe it wasn't even you. Maybe somebody got your phone. Have you ever thought of that? What a good way to put someone in jail. Hey, mate, pass me your phone. Yeah, he's going to jail. What? Hey, yeah, you tweeted. Get him to jail. Like, sorry. So imagine, you get arrested for, writing a spicy tweet or sharing the wrong meme or something, because these things happen in the United Kingdom, guys. I'm not making this up. This is not some far-fetched scenario. These things do happen. People do go to prison for tweeting online. That's true. So imagine you've just got nicked, or for standing in the wrong place at a protest, or whatever, Right now, 12 of your peers have to convict you. They have to say, oh, no, do you know what? I actually think Raven, it was, I don't think it was Raven. The person who said it wasn't Raven who wrote that tweet. Raven walks past that side of that, Raven walks past the side of that building every Tuesday at 2:00 because he goes and gets, I don't know, a cup of coffee from, you see where I'm going, Now, under this new plan, one judge who might owe his career to this very same home office that charged you gets to decide if you're off to prison for 2-3 years. You see how corrupt this is, guys? You see the slippery slope we're on? It's not efficiency. It is efficiency. And I get the reason why they're doing it. This is the quiet construction of a police state. One administrative tiptoe at a time. That's what this is, guys, okay? We are constructing a police state. This is, anarcho tyranny. In its final form. Anarchy on the streets because the state won't enforce the laws equally. Tyranny in the courts because the state no longer trusts the public to sit in judgment. Tell me I'm wrong, guys. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm happy if you want to call me out on that. I really do. We're sleepwalking into a country where the ruling class polices your thoughts while letting the streets literally burn. Literally burn, guys. Last year in, where was it? In Har Hills, in Leeds. Literally, the streets were on fire. There were no police. No police there. The streets were on fire. Same year, we're arresting people for tweets. That is didactically correct. What I just said there is didactic. There's nothing wrong there, guys. That is didactically correct. We are sleepwalking into this police state, guys. And, this is the quiet construction of a police state. And honestly, if I don't know if you guys can see this as clearly as I can. I don't know if you guys can see this as clearly as I can, but if you can, you kind of need to start spreading this message, and letting people understand how bad things are. And when people say to you, oh, it's only to it's only to come, it's only to close that, stop the it's only to get rid of the courts, get rid of all the backlog in the courts. Do you know what it's also there to do? Here we are, yeah. So Meslor is quoting the Magna Carta here. No free man shall be imprisoned or stripped of his rights or possessions or deprived of his standings in any way except by the lawful judgment of his peers. And they're referring there to a trial by jury. Right, let me jump on and get some chat, guys, and then I'll jump onto the craziness that's been happening in the last 24 hours. I lost my Facebook for calling Sam Smith a pedometer. He's a weird one, isn't he, that Sam Smith? Like, when he first came out, he was like quite a well-dressed gentleman, you know, and then he just went wrong. He just went absolutely wrong. And I was listening to one of his songs, and I saw the video. I was like, I'm not listening to this anymore. Doc GB is saying, digital prison coming while everybody's waving flags. Emery's saying there is a backlog. Is there a back? Do you know what? Do you know what, Emma? That is a very good question. That is a very good question, Emma, and I don't have the answer to that. So Emma Watts is saying, is there actually a backlog, or is it just an excuse to change the system? Yeah, that, you know what, I don't know. There could be, there may not be. I don't know. Mezola is saying he's spitting on the Magna Carta. It's not two-tier justice. It's a multi-tier. It's a multi-tier system depending on your economic class, or if you work for the government, or if you are an import. Right, Emma is saying the police force was found to be supporting Islamists. Do you have evidence of that, Emma? Do you have evidence of that? If you have evidence of that, I would happily share that. But I've not heard that, so I wouldn't. I'm not saying you're not. I'm not saying you're not right. I'm just saying I've not heard that, and I've not seen any. I've not seen any evidence of that. Cryptic Demon is saying active monitoring and managing a major cyber incident affecting the following councils. Oh, okay, so there's a cyber incident happening in London at the moment. Right, hang on. There's some comments I can't read. Helen is saying should listen to European Parliament. That's where you'll see their perspective and agenda. Right, guys, listen. I'm gonna jump on some articles now that have come out in the last 24 hours. So there's some absolutely wild stuff. First of all, I'm gonna share this with you guys. Now, I don't know how accurate this list is, so I am caveating this. I can't be bothered to go through it, so I'm just gonna say that this is a list that's been shared. Now, this is a list of, let's just say, people. So this is a list of people who have abolished trial by jury. So these are the people who abolished trial by jury. Got some interesting names there, right? You've got some interesting names. Just look at them. Look at those names, and then at the bottom you've got Keir Starmer. So I don't know, guys. Are we heading for pattern recognition? Ladies and gentlemen, pattern recognition. Can we do pattern recognition and think, right, okay, dictator, right. Oh, hang on a minute, Keir Starmer. I don't know. Maybe we can do pattern recognition. Maybe we can't. How do I stop sharing? Oh. Right, where are we going to start? We're going to start on that one, or we're going to start on this one. Guys, there is so much going on, so much to share. Right, Anarcho tyranny. I've got another perfect example of anarcho tyranny here, guys. Not Keir Starmer. What's his name? Anarcho tyranny. Perfect example, guys. I'll give it you now.
Texts Elizabeth Kinney from Tranmere. Have you read about this? Go on. She's a mother of 4. I think she's a nurse, and she gets beaten up by her boyfriend. He beats her up. She goes to the hospital. And she texts someone, a buddy of hers, a friend of hers, a girlfriend of hers, and describes the man who beat her up and sent her to the hospital as a, quote, faggot. It's a faggot. Mm-hmm. And she's arrested and convicted of a hate crime. The guy who beat her up is not arrested or convicted. And then she goes through this whole kabuki, which is now required, where she prostrates herself before the judge. I'm sorry, it was not a homophobic rant. By the way, you're allowed to be homophobic if you want in a free country. You can have any view you want. But no, because she used the word faggot, she's arrested, and the guy who punched her in the face was not. That story tells you.
Remember, guys, anarcho-tyranny, where you have anarchy and tyranny at the same time. You let criminals do what they want. The man punches her in the face. Look, guys, I don't know if this story is true. I don't. I'll be quite clear. He says it's out in the Daily Mail. I'm going to assume, he's quite a big, they've got, he's quite a big guy. I'm going to assume it's true. But this is an example of anarcho-tyranny, where you let the criminals off, but the law-abiding citizens, you drive down on them. Anarcho-tyranny.
Everything.
Well, I don't know that story. If it's exactly
Daily Mail, baby.
Okay.
Pictures of her and everything.
I'm not doubting it. I'm just saying I need to look into it. But if that is how you've told it, obviously it's ridiculous.
Would you say the word faggot on camera?
No.
Why?
Because
you don't want to get arrested, do you?
Doesn't want to be arrested.
Because it's so harmful to people?
No.
Is it like gay bashing? What's wrong with that?
No, actually, my whole issue with the whole trans debate, for example, is you don't need to slide into actually saying derogatory stuff about trans people to make the point that women's rights should be protected. You don't need to.
Well, I agree.
So what? I don't believe.
No, but it's a magic word.
I don't believe in needlessly.
Right, I'm going to leave that there because they're being a bit gay now after that. But it's just another example of where we are right now. A man, allegedly, I don't know, a man beats his girlfriend up, nothing. She calls him a faggot. She gets arrested and she gets done for a hate crime. It's the two-tier system. That is a perfect example, of this two-tier system that we're in. We've done that one, not closed that. We've got right, yeah, no free man. We've got that. Hang on, guys. There's quite a few bits. This is heartbreaking. I'm gonna play this, guys. This is heartbreaking, but I think it's very true. It's very true. It really is very true.
If you want to get it in perspective, there's a little girl who hasn't got a mummy for Christmas, and her mummy worked as a receptionist in that migrant hotel, and the man stabbed her to death with a screwdriver.
I don't know if you heard that, guys. So they're talking about there's a little girl now who doesn't have a mummy for Christmas or ever. Their mummy's gone. And I really gave myself a mental kick in the other day because I've become I've started to become numb to a lot of this, and I was like, oh yeah, the woman who died. Oh yeah, no, the one was she raped first? No, she was just stabbed. Oh yeah, I remember. I've become numb to this. These are people's lives, okay? These are people's lives. So let me rewind that.
If you want to get it in perspective, there's a little girl who hasn't got a mummy for Christmas, and her mummy worked as a receptionist in that migrant hotel, and the man stabbed her to death with a screwdriver. My life is, I'm very fortunate, but actually it isn't worth it anymore. When people that are going to work and earning a low wage are being slaughtered by people who've contributed nothing.
Did you hear that? Where people are going to work for a low wage and being slaughtered by migrants. They're not even migrants. And this is true. This happened. I'm not making this up.
And everybody supports them in government. That's when we've lost the plot. That little girl hasn't got a mummy for Christmas. That's the lowest point this country could get to.
A devastating and important point. Andrew, have a good day.
I don't think we've become numb to this. We've become numb because there's so much stuff happening day in. We really have become numb to this, guys. We've become absolutely numb to this. And what are we all doing? Like this budget that came out yesterday. It's like there really is no incentive to work now. There's no incentive to work. I'm 50-50 whether I just close everything down now. There's literally no incentive to work. No incentive to work at all, guys. You know, why would you bother working right now if you live in the United Kingdom? Why would you bother going out to work? You wouldn't. You'd stay at home, give minimum efforts, and bang out as many kids as you can. Right, let's see some, right, guys, okay, so I'm going to jump onto the budget now, because we really are tyrannical Britain right now. I don't know how, I don't know how else we can describe this. I'm going to share with you guys a video now from Beth Rigby. Now, Beth Rigby from Sky News. Now, I'm not really a big fan of Beth Rigby, but I think she does well here. Obviously, listen to what she's saying, all right? Look at her face. Look at how shocked she is. Look at how shocked she is. So I'm going to share this now. It's I think this was released yesterday after the budget, or actually it was just before the budget, sorry. So you're paying more. That's what the title is.
It's accident. I've seen a lot, but I've never seen this. The entire budget.
Just look how serious she is, guys, okay? I've seen a lot, but I've never seen this. We're fucked. We're fucked, we're cooked, we're diddly ducked.
Budget accidentally published less than an hour before the Chancellor was due to deliver it to the House of Commons. So surprising is this leak ahead of the budget, and I cannot stress how I have never seen anything like it. Now, it wasn't the Chancellor's fault. The body that does the government's forecast, the Office of Budget Responsibility, accidentally published it on their website.
Now, I'm going to speculate that somebody did that to make a shit ton of money somewhere. I'm going to speculate that somebody made a shit ton of money. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they didn't.
Before the Chancellor had delivered it to MPs. It was absolutely mind-blowing. The leak revealed everything in the budget before the Chancellor gave it. And what was the headline? 26 billion more in tax rises, taking the tax burden in the UK to the highest ever level at 38% of GDP. And you're all going to be paying more.
I am asking everyone to make a contribution. From 2028, I am introducing the high value council tax surcharge in England, introducing the electric vehicle excise duty on electric cars, introducing a £2,000 cap on salary sacrifice into a pension, increasing remote gaming duty from 21% to 40%. It will increase the basic and higher rate of tax on property, savings and dividend income by 2 percentage points.
And this is going to hurt. There's taxes on savings, on pension funds, on houses worth over 2 million quid, on electric vehicles, on gambling, on landlords, and crucially on workers.
So basically, now the dust settled, if you're working, you're fucked. If you're working, that's it. You're going to get taxed. If you're not working, we got you. Don't bother. This is how we move into a socialist state, guys. A socialist state of tyranny. And for anyone who thinks it's a good idea, go and look how many people have died under socialism and how many people died in the Second World War, for example. And you'll be shocked at the numbers.
And look, that really matters because you may remember this from just a year earlier.
I have made an important choice today to keep every single commitment that we made on tax in our manifesto.
I'm not coming back with more borrowing or more taxes.
And of course, you'll have heard a hell of a lot of this during the election campaign.
I don't believe it's fair to raise taxes on working people.
Fast forward to today, Labour is now putting up taxes on working people.
I will maintain all income tax and equivalent national insurance thresholds at their current level for a further 3 years from 2028. I know that maintaining these thresholds is a decision that will affect working people.
And look, the Chancellor admitted it there. What they're doing is extending a freeze on income tax thresholds. And that basically means that over time, as people's wages go up, inflation goes up, lots of people get dragged into higher tax bands. By the end of the Parliament, about 800,000 people have to pay tax because they're going to be dragged into the lower band. And about 1 million people are going to find themselves paying the higher rates of tax in total.
So I heard a statistic, and I don't know where this statistic's from. I don't know how they calculated it, but in Britain, 39% of we pay 39%. We pay 39% tax. You know, if you, I think this is if you go into everything, we pay 39% tax. You know, nothing good is coming. Right now, guys, like, where's the incentive to work? If you work and you want to buy a nice house, yeah, we're going to tax you on that. Okay, if you've got a nice house, yeah, we're going to tax you on that. Like, where's the incentive to work? It's unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. It's unbelievable. But don't worry. Don't worry, all those mums in Bradford who've got lots of kids, you know. Where else have we got? We've got Bradford, Birmingham, lots of people with big families. They will be rejoicing. And I'm going to come on to that in a second once this video is done.
Chancellor's going to be taking £8.3 billion more in tax from all of you workers. She's raising taxes to give herself more of a buffer so she hopefully doesn't have to keep raising taxes at every budget.
See, I don't think she is. I think she's going to need to raise them at the next budget as well, because as more people come to the United Kingdom and more people decide, oh, well, if I come to the United Kingdom, I'm not going to go there. I'll come on to that afterwards. But as more people are coming to the United Kingdom, we've got bigger bills, we're in a war, you know, we're going to have to have that, but we're going to have to have more taxes. It's coming, guys. Taxes will get raised, as far as I'm concerned, will go up at every budget. From now on, we just expect things to get worse. Right at the beginning of this live stream, I said to you guys, can you remember when Keir Starmer said, like, we're starting phase 2 or something? Can you guys remember that? And people are like, hang on a minute, this has been fucking terrible. What do you mean we're starting phase 2? What was phase 1? I think we're starting phase 3. I do. I think we're starting phase 3 right now, guys. We are starting phase 3. Phase 3 of the totalitarian police state, the construction of an absolute Orwellian 1984 state.
But goodness me, that is a pretty big manifesto breach, or at least the spirit of what Labour told you in the election. So who does this budget please? Well, it's not going to be voters when the government has rolled back on the promises they gave you in the run-up to the general election. And businesses are now going to have to foot the bill for rises in the national living wage and the national minimum wage. And also this raid on pensions. It's going to cost £4.7 billion. And
so if you're a business right now and you're struggling, you're struggling to get people through the door, you're struggling to get sales, you're struggling to do X, Y, Z, you've now got to pay your staff more. So that means your prices are going to go up. So that means less people are going to buy your shit. So that means you're going to go bust.
That's going to be paid for by employees and employers too. But who is the Chancellor going to please? Well, for an embattled politician, she's going to please her backbenchers because she's lifting the 2-child benefit cap. Labour MPs hate it. They're going to like that she's scrapping it.
So,
because I am tackling fraud and error in our welfare system, because I am cracking down on tax avoidance, because I am reforming gambling taxation, I can announce today, fully costed and fully funded, the removal of the 2-child limit in full from April.
So, removing this 2-child cap, she's buying votes. What she's doing is she's buying votes, because once people rely on financial assistance, they don't want that financial assistance to go. You become dependent. It's like a drug addict. Once you're dependent on someone, you know, you need that person. You need to break away from that chain. You need to break that matrix, and you need to be fully independent. But what she's doing here by lifting this 2-child cap, she's buying votes, because those people now will think, oh, well, I don't want to vote for the Conservatives or Reform because they'll remove this 2-child cap. So regardless to what else is happening, I'm getting money, and I'm being. That's where it's all down to, guys. That's what it boils down to.
This is a big budget. It's big in tax rises. It's big in political jeopardy. The Chancellor will hope that the combination of the tax rises and the cut to the 2-child benefit cap will please 2 audiences, the markets and her own backbenchers. But as for the voters, as for business, and as for economic growth, well, I think this is a budget more about self-preservation than anything else.
So if we understand and we consider that we are heading towards a global conflict on an industrial scale, and there's probably not going to be any elections in 2029, makes no sense, does it? Why would you bother about votes and winning votes, winning the next election when there's not going to be another election? Shaky Jakey is saying it's because other families that are joining the UK have about 9 kids each. Matt is saying, I feel that this Christmas is going to be our last. Yeah, it might be. Can you listen? Right, guys, listen. This is going to be satire, all right? This is going to be satire. But is this beyond the realms of anybody's is this beyond the realms of anybody's of the concept in the United Kingdom right now? Next year, somebody writes on X, Merry Christmas, and that's offended someone and caused distress and anxiety, and then, hello, yes, hi, we've had reports that you wrote Merry Christmas on X. Yeah, we need to take you in about questioning about that because you caused distress, alarm, and despair, whatever it is. What? I said Merry Christmas. Yeah, we kind of don't celebrate that because it causes anxiety for some people now. Oh, right, okay. Well, you'll have to hurry up because it's Eid soon and we're all celebrating that. Let me jump up and get some chat, guys. Toxic Goyhole is saying, the only thing keeping me here is my duty to protect those who can't protect themselves, and I'm quickly thinking it's a losing plan. It is guys, listen, we might need a tactical retreat to win this one. Guys, listen, Toxic Goyhole, ladies and gentlemen, how many times have I said this? There's going to be a mass exodus to Antarctica. You think it's fucking wild, right? I know you guys think it's wild. There's going to be a mass exodus of Western culture to Antarctica. There's going to be a mass exodus to. Antarctica. It's the only place left. Realistically, guys, it's the only place left. Tracy Dolly saying closing of small businesses. It is closing of small businesses and the implementation of large corporations that pay minimum wage that are government sponsored, government funded, government embedded. Slim Yin is saying they are stealing money from my family to pay for those with no self-control or forward planning. It's crazy. Debbie Doobs is saying, can't we find somewhere warmer than Antarctica? Well, she didn't say than Antarctica, but that's what she means by Antarctica. Debbie, right? If like Europeans go down to Antarctica and it's just Europeans and we're all working for each other, we're all working for the common good, we will make that place a fucking paradise. We will make Antarctica an absolute fucking paradise. It will be beautiful. Like you've seen Centre Parks, right? There's no reason why we can't do mega structures and just put huge domes over massive parts of Antarctica, and have it as like a tropical paradise. We can have a desert paradise. We can have any biome that we want. That's what will happen. We'll get to a point around about 2050, and people will say, "Yeah, we can't do this anymore." We will go down there. We'll take our weapons. We'll take our ships. We'll take our aircraft. We'll take our technology. We'll take our nuclear reactors. We'll take our oil drilling platforms. We'll take our industry. And we will start to build shit on Antarctica. And Antarctica will become an absolute metropolis. It will become a metropolis. And Elle is saying some liberals will get in and say it needs to be more diverse. I don't think they would. I don't think they would. I think it would be Aloya is saying we won't get to 2050. A comet is coming in 2040. The comet's coming in 2029. The comet's coming in 2029, isn't it? What comet are you talking about? Because I know there's a comet coming in 2029. Friday the 13th of April, 2029. Linda Clark is saying, I saw a video of 2 Muslim girls advertising a new range of Islamic goods for sale in Asda superstores. They were at High Wycombe, hijabs, etc. Everybody needs a hijab. Everybody needs a hijab. Archaic's channel predicted it. Okay, listen, guys, I don't know where this information's come from. Is there a news article on this or some scientific research? I know there is an asteroid or a comet or whatever it's called Apophis, heading towards Earth, and that comes really close in April 2029, like underneath our own satellites. I don't know if there's if there's something coming by in 2040. Carol Buckley with an absolutely fantastic thumbnail. What a great thumbnail. What a great thumbnail. Is saying, I was a chef in a pub. They took away my food, prep, and pot washer. I had to take those jobs on as well. Yeah, so I think what Carol's talking about there is, with people having to, businesses now having to pay their staff more. They're not employing more. They're letting people go. So where you might have had a job, now you don't have a job because they have to pay, they have to prioritize who they're paying. Yeah. And Shaky Jakey is saying, wow, Carol. I bet you didn't get paid for a 3-person job. The world's upside down. Yeah, it happens quite a lot. I used to work for an, I used to work for a company, and they, I used to work for a company, and they said, listen, we need hard workers. So I took 2 Viagras. I got fired. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Maybe I didn't read the room. Carol painted the thumbnail. It's a fantastic picture, Carol. It is. It's a fantastic picture. Tracy is saying, Sean, have you seen that they have cleared the airspace over Scotland? No, I have not seen that. I have not seen that. Shaky Jakey is saying, Pegasus preparedness has ended. Are we ready for what's next? What's Pegasus preparedness? I don't know what Pegasus preparedness is. I don't know what Pegasus preparedness is. And Baron 101 with a square cube. A little bit concerning why you've got a square cube. That's a bit satanic. He's saying hi all. He's saying hi all. Right, listen, guys, I am going to run through what I've been talking about on this live stream. We are looking at tyrannical Britain now. And it's not me saying these things are coming. It's not me saying things, you know, it's not me saying this is going to happen. This live stream has been about me pointing out real things that have really happened, really. Like, really, really. So, just quickly, I want to give you guys a little bit of a monologue what I was talking about earlier on in the live stream, because I know some people, you know, are just jumping on and, you know, some people may have left. So I want to give you guys a concept that came from the 90s, really. It's called anarcho-tyranny. Now, anarcho-tyranny means anarchy and tyranny at the same time, basically. Now, this was derived from an American writer in the 90s, and it describes a paradox. Look, guys, when I describe this, I want you guys to tell me if you're feeling this in the United Kingdom right now, if you're feeling this in the UK right now, okay? So, anarcho-tyranny. So, basically, a paradoxical state of governance where the authorities come down, effectively, they give a free hand to crime, disorder, threats to public services, you know, threats to public safety. They give a free hand to that. So you have anarchy flourishing among certain groups in key areas, while simultaneously coming down draconianly with tyrannical power against law-abiding citizens through, you know, government overreach, surveillance, harsh enforcement of minor infractions. So that, in essence, is what anarcho-tyranny is. Now, when you understand this, take a step back, you start looking in on the United Kingdom, you start to see it, don't you? Better known as a two-tier justice system. But, you know, anarcho-tyranny was, that was coined in like the 90s. But it is a thing, and people, you know, and it's well rehearsed. In essence, it's a system that protects criminals from accountability, but crushes the complaint under bureaucratic or ideological control, where the state prioritizes, you know, abstract ideals like, for example, multiculturalism, globalism, over practical order, leading to a breakdown in the social contract. That's where we're going right now, guys. And a breakdown of the social contract will mean ultimately a civil conflict. And as JFK said, those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable. All these things have already, you know, we know what's coming. If we look back through history, we can take and cherry pick these bits from, not cherry pick, we can take parts from history and understand how they're happening and where they lead. They always lead to the same thing, guys, okay? They always lead to the same thing. Now, I just want to give a little bit of context of, you know, I want to give the phrase two-tier justice system, you know, emerged predominantly in the United Kingdom in 2024. And two-tier justice system and anarcho-tyranny is the same thing. So if you hear anarcho-tyranny and two-tier justice system, it is the same thing. So you've got two-tier justice system in the United Kingdom. Like I said, I think people started talking about this two-tier Kia. I wonder who the first person to write that was. Now this was amid riots and protests following a high-profile event like this. I can't even bring every time I see that word Southport, I start to get triggered, guys. I do. I start to get triggered. Like, did we just forget that? Did we just forget what those girls went through? Did we just forget that? Can we just have a minute? If you ever think the fight is not worth fighting, if you ever think the fight is not worth fighting, think about what those little girls in Southport went through in their final moments. Take a deep breath, compose yourself, and carry on. If you ever think the fight's not worth fighting, guys, think about what those little girls went through in Southport. Take a deep breath and carry on, okay? So, look, I do want to talk a little bit more about this anarcho tyranny. So, you know, it has been thrown about a little bit, guys, but I want people to understand, you know, that's what exactly people mean when they talk about Britain now has a two-tier justice system. Tier 1 would be the protected class, you know, certain kinds of protests, certain kind of protesters, certain kinds of offenders, certain kinds of offences. You know, they just seem to like float above the law. Ricky Jones, for example, said he's going to cut people's throats and get rid of them. Not 1 minute in jail. Lucy Conley, Peter Lynch, edgy tweets, jail. Man shouted at a dog, jail. So, you know, you can see, can't you, the certain things just float above the law. So that's tier 1. And then you get tier 2, everyone else. You know, we've got the indigenous working class. If you put something angry on Facebook after the most disgusting crimes happen in the United Kingdom, one group gets community resolutions and the other group gets the book thrown at them. And the judges lecture, you know, and did you hear the judges' lectures? So we're talking now about the system in the United Kingdom whereby we're going to start to abolish trial by jury. Can you remember those lectures that the judge gave people? And you wrote this tweet, and the tweet said this. And when you watch that, you think it's like some sort of comedy sketch, don't you? You think that is some sort of comedy sketch. You do. You think it's some sort of comedy sketch. But these are going to be the same judges now who are going to be judging people because we're getting rid of juries. So we saw it last year. We saw riots kicked off last year. The police were doing drive-by arrests, kicking doors in at 4 a.m. because something tweeted something spicy. Meanwhile, protests week after week, waving Palestinian flags, chanting stuff that would make your blood run cold if you understood that language. And the police are filming TikToks and handing out bottles of water and telling people it's largely peaceful. I'm not even going to get into the Notting Hill Carnival. I'm not even going to mention that. I am not even going to mention Notting Hill Carnival. I'm not going to mention it, guys. I'm going to totally whitewash it for now. I'm going to pretend it doesn't exist. Then this year we have the sentencing council try to make it official. So do we just forget these things are happening, guys? This year we had the sentence, and I think it was what's his name? Robert Jenrick. Robert Jenrick did a brilliant job in calling this out. So this year we had the sentencing council that tried to give more lenient sentencing to people of ethnic backgrounds. I'm not making that up, guys. I'm not making that up. That's what they tried to do. They tried to think, oh, okay, if you're from an ethnic background, we're going to give you a more lenient sentence. How do you think that's going to play out now? Now there's no jury. How do you think those things are going to play out? They literally tried to do it. For now, it's been shelved for now. They'll try and bring it back, guys. They will, slowly by slowly, tip-tappy forwards. Now, if you want to be scared, this month, David Lammy, in his vast intellectual capacity, is floating plans to scrap trial by jury for almost every crime in England and Wales. I think murder, rape, manslaughter are going to be kept with a jury, but everything else, so burglary, assault, fraud, public order, hitting police officers, no jury. Brings me on to the Manchester 2. They're claiming it's because of the court backlog. And look, fair enough. Somebody commented earlier that is there really a court backlog, or is it just some sort of, or is it just sort of is it just some sort of skullduggery? I don't know if there really is a court backlog. Obviously, I don't have that information. Trial by jury, guys. It's not. Trial by jury, and as bad as this sounds, as weak as this is, it's like the ultimate firewall. It's the last stand between the citizens and the state. 12 ordinary people have to look at you and say, yes, what he did was illegal. No, what he did was not illegal. Under those circumstances, that was totally fine, because there's a lot of nuance in this. For example, if a woman or a man, if someone's getting beaten by their partner and they get in a car and drive to the end of the road and then run off when they've been drinking, is that drink driving? Yeah, I mean, yeah, like they were drunk, but like, are they? You see where I'm going with this, guys? That, I'm just trying to give you guys, there's nuance to everything. There's outside factors to everything. But when you remove the jury, you think things were bad before. I mean, we will not even know. We won't even know about the people that are getting sent to prison, because they'll just have a knock on the door, a super injunction, and then they'll be gone. You won't see them anymore. I can't believe I'm saying this. Just the fact that I'm saying this, shows you how far we've slid already. Imagine you get arrested for a tweet. This is not some far-fetched. Oh, Sean's talking about Antarctica in 2020, in 2050. It's not, oh, Sean's talking about interdimensional aliens again. Oh, Sean's talking about space engineering. No, this is real stuff. Imagining that you get arrested for a tweet is no longer in the realms of conspiracy and tyrants. It's real. We all know that if we put a tweet out there and somebody doesn't like it, we may get arrested. We all know that now. We've seen that. All right. So imagine you get arrested for a tweet or whatever. As we are now, 12 people will have to convict you. If you say, I'm not, no, that wasn't, or you give a reason, If David Lammy gets his way, it will just be one judge. And where do you think the Fabianism of that's going to be? This is a quiet construction of a police state, guys. This is a quiet construction of a police state. One piece of legislation at a time, so we don't notice. This is an anarcho-tyranny. On the streets, we will have anarchy and we will have tyranny. We will have anarchy because the police will be letting crime float above the law, but ordinary people, they'll be coming down heavy if they're pointing these things out, if they're looking out of the window and saying, all these people who are machete fighting on my street, they all have something in common. what will happen will be there will be a total failure in the social contract. And when there's a total failure in the social contract, that's when we have the civil war. And these things that are being put in place right now, ladies and gentlemen, are leading towards it. And it's sometimes I have to pinch myself to look, and I'm like, is nobody listening to this? Is nobody watching this? Yum is saying, Kenneth, hang on. Right, hang on a minute. Are people, have we got beef? Have we got beef in the chat? I don't know if we've got beef in the chat. Kenneth is saying, it doesn't help with Charles III in bed with the Muslim Brotherhood to whom the alliance is owed. So the crown ultimately is there to protect, not the king, the crown is there ultimately to protect people. I don't think it's going to happen. Ultimately, the king, or I guess the king, is, I guess they're synonymous. The king's supposed to come down and say, whoa, mate, what are you doing? That's bullshit. No, that's not a law. That's not a law that I want. That's not a law that the people want. We're gone beyond that now, guys. We're gone beyond that. Look, ultimately, I've been saying this for over a year. We have no legal framework to protect ourselves from a tyrannical government. We have no constitution. And I get it. People talk about the English Constitution, and what they're actually talking about is a series of documents that form the English Constitution. There's no one document that says this is the English Constitution. There isn't. It doesn't exist, guys. It doesn't exist. And those documents, either way, those documents are heavily, these documents are heavily interpreted and reinterpreted. So it's. What we need a constitution in the United Kingdom, and that constitution needs to be, communicated at school level. Like literally, kids, as soon as they can read and write, they need to learn the Constitution, because what happens is when you teach kids the Constitution at school, there's no misinterpretation. There's no misinterpretation. For example, the United States, they have the right to, they have the Second Amendment, which is not the right to have guns. It's not. The Second Amendment is not the right to have guns. It's the right to bear arms. But it's to form militias, and those militias are to keep in check the government. Right, guys, I'm going to jump down because there's quite a lot of chat. Rose Sek is saying the Daily News is like a daily psyop these days. It's like fear, scare, nervous, fear, scare, angry, upset, shame, and blame. It's like a circular wheel you're trapped in. It is, guys. We need to get out of the matrix. What? They're doing AI judges. Is that where we're going now? We're going to go up to the robot. Raven, you are. How do you plead to your crime of illegal social media? Not guilty. On the first that you tweeted, you are guilty. You are sentenced to 7 lashes. Yeah, the Magna Carta was for landlords, not peasants. Yeah, it was. The Magna Carta was heavily... the Magna Carta, like if anybody's ever... It's very difficult to read the Magna Carta. It's not really relevant anymore. This is why like people say, oh, but Sean, we've got the Magna Carta. I'm like, look, guys, the Magna Carta is nothing. It means nothing. It's a cool piece of paper, and people refer back to it. It was literally, the Magna Carta was to protect landowners, basically landowners. The Magna Carta was to protect landowners. So are you saying Graham Moore is lying? I don't know who Graham Moore is. I don't know if he's lying. What's he saying? Tell me what he's saying. Okay, so Toxic Goyhole is saying we have a right to lawfully rebellion. It's how we got all of our rights. Okay, so here's the oxymoron here. Okay, lawful rebellion. How do you do a lawful rebellion when rebellion's illegal? How do you do a lawful rebellion when you're not allowed to oppose the government? How do you do a lawful rebellion when the government hold the monopoly on violence? You see where I'm going with this, guys? Okay, yes, there's all these things written in these documents, you know, the English Bill of Rights and, you know, all sorts of stuff. But without that being communicated and interpreted at government level, it means nothing, because I can interpret it one way, you can interpret it the other, without this having full legal interpretation and, you know, full legal interpretation, and without everybody understanding it, then these things are open to a massive, go on. Massively misinterpreted what I'm getting at. Right, I'm just jumping up at the, getting some of these. Right, I don't know who. Okay, guys, who's Graham? Who's Graham Moore? Who's Graham Moore? Who is? I don't know who Graham Moore is. I'm sure there's a film about an AI judge. All the evidence points to the husband killing his wife, but he didn't do it. Gaslighting people into believing they somehow caused the downfall of their country by decisions they never had a choice in is a psychological game. Okay, right, guys, listen. Okay, right. Let me get some things clear. Okay. Constitutional law. Yes, I agree. There's something called constitutional law, but we do not have a constitution. It's very semantic. All right, we're trying to split hairs here. England do not have a constitution, the likes the United States have. In the United States, they have the Constitution, and that is taught at schools. You know, you learn about the American Constitution in, you know, at school in America. We don't have a single document here in the United Kingdom that we can go from. And like you're saying, Richard Brooks, we need to understand our constitution, to understand British constitutional law, you need an expert. That shouldn't be the case, guys. Every man, woman, and child in this country should understand their constitutional rights and responsibilities as, you know, living under one God in this country. And that should be taught at schools. We shouldn't have to listen or get some legal advice from some legal expert who's on the payroll of somebody else, and then he's arguing one interpretation and somebody else is arguing another interpretation. This stuff should be written down in one document, very plainly, very simply, and it should be taught at school level. That's the only way forwards. Because otherwise, Richard, you are proving my point. You know, you are proving my point that if you need an expert in British constitutional law, then we don't have a constitution. Because the point of having a constitution is everybody understands it. Right, I'm going to jump down, guys. Lee is saying they use legislation as the law. It's not the law, it's the plan, which has to be passed in Parliament until the Uni Party ignores breaking the law and then making up their own laws. Yeah, you know, I agree. I agree. You know, it's some crazy stuff we're in, guys. Some crazy stuff we're in. Rose is saying, Tomo in France saying in YouTube, we need to fight. Imagine taking him serious. You can only vote because the mills in Manchester downed tools and men and women and children were deleted for it. Then the nation downed tools. This was a lawful rebellion because we were being civil. Yes, I agree. But look, you know, men, women, and children were deleted for it. That's what's going to happen. And what I'm saying is, look, guys, okay, right, okay. Every man, I think, if you want to go back to, look, guys, if you want to go back to like Article 2 of the Rights of Man. I think Article 2 of the Rights of Man Act states that every free man has the duty to oppose oppression. Guys, search out for your Article 2, the Rights of Man Act. You know, we can all find these bits of legislation. But nothing's going to happen. And I'm giving you guys the realistic options here. Nothing's going to happen until something, you know, until this has been brought out. Until this has been brought out, it has had, and people start talking about this as a national conversation. Maybe, you know, maybe this is right. Maybe this is right. Maybe lawful rebellion is legal. I don't think it is, guys. I don't think it is. I don't think lawful rebellion is legal, if that makes sense. But until that happens, until we can start this as a national conversation and just say to your friends and family, listen, ladies and gentlemen, what legal framework do we have to oppose a tyrannical government? And get that conversation going. Right, listen, guys, I am going to close this down now. I think I'm going to go and I think I'm going to buy a gimbal, because I did a live stream the other day in Sheffield and I was all over the place with my hand. So I think I'm going to go and buy a gimbal, and I'm going to start going into like towns and cities and stuff and just having a walk around and seeing what's out there. And I will do that on a live stream. So don't be surprised if I jump on a live stream later and I'm like playing with my gimbal and stuff and try. I don't want any jokes from any of you ex-military guys, okay? All right? I will be playing with my gimbal later. If you've not done so already, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, guys. All those things that help this channel grow. Ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, tyrannical Britain, that's what we're in right now. And I don't think you guys are ready for what's coming next. I really don't think you are. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Debbie Doobs is saying, show Rotherham Centre. I don't think people are ready for that yet. I don't think people are ready for that. I will be closing this down now, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for hanging out with me this morning, and I'll be back on at 8. If I'm not back on at 8, I will be back on at 8. I may be back on in the afternoon or something. I don't know. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, try and start that conversation going. And make sure to hit that subscribe button as well.